So this is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet, not on satellite, not on cable, nor on terrestrial. This is Monday, the 21st of August 2023, and this is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel. Today we have done a particular update on the baby angel Geronimo because the latest on the record, High Court judge acting as the prostitute for the UK corrupt state was a man called Mr. Justice Griffiths. And Griffiths published his ruling on the question of the then latest DEFRA attacks on the rights of the baby angel Geronimo. And I'm looking for the actual ruling, the copy of it. This is the date, the 29th of July 2021, which is 2 years and a month ago. And it was Mr. Justice Griffiths. And the case was between Helen MacDonald, who is baby angel Geronimo's mom, and Animal Plant and Health Agency. So it was Helen's appeal, and the response was the Animal Plant and Health Agency. And for Helen MacDonald appeared at that time as a QC. Now she must be a KC. It's a woman called Catherine McGahey. And for the Animal Plant and Health Agency, it was somebody called Ned Westway, instructed by Government Legal Department for the respondent. Hearing date was 29th of July 2021. And in this report, I'm not going to read it except to refer to this for reference. This Griffiths guy comes across as a complete dishonest individual. Now, Griffiths ignores the science, the evidence, and he relies on the Secretary of State being allegedly entitled to cause severe harm to the baby angel Geronimo. That's all I'll say as far as that ruling is concerned. But I have interpreted this one today, and this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the Khoodeelaar campaign, doing chapter and verse analysis of the criminal prostitute role played by overhyped over high post holders like this Griffiths. Now, what Griffiths did was to retail and repeat the previous one, who was Murray. There was a third one in between, before Griffiths. Between Murray and Griffiths, there was a woman. Now, the woman, I diagnosed her during the time 2 years ago. The woman came across as being especially pathetic. Well, they are all dishonest, but that one was pathetic additionally to being dishonest and ignorant, because she was one of the smaller numbers of appointees to the post of High Court judge, drawn from the ranks of the licensed solicitors. And the first response that has been recorded of her reaction to being appointed a High Court judge was unbelievably pathetic. She didn't have anything to say about the role that she could play in upholding justice. She was overwhelmed with the fact that she treated that as an honor, elevation. So all three of them, I'm talking about the ones that are described as High Court judges involved in High Court based proceedings, initiated at the behest, at the kind of on behalf of Helen MacDonald, on behalf of baby Angel Geronimo. These people, all of them, I said in 2021, and I'm saying it again now. I didn't say much about those judges during 2022. I'm saying now because this is the time I'm now ready with the particular kind of knowledge that I have obtained about the details, that these judges, all three of them, on the record, behaved as stooges for the evil that is called DEFRA. And health, this animal health thing is not about animal health at all, is it? This is the name of the thing that Helen's appeal was responded to by, let's say. But that is part of the bureaucracy of DEFRA. It's called Animal Plant and Health Agency. And I said during 2021 that this Catherine McGahey, within quotes, barrister, she was then known as QC, now she is known as common with the passing of the monarch Brenda, KSC, because the so called king is a male, so King's Council. Now, I said about Catherine McGahey, first of all, the name McGahey is a Scottish name. And the second thing is that she could be related to the trade unionist, also known as the communist McGahey. So I was struck by the coincidence, if you like, if not the real evidence, but we can actually research that one, that connection between Catherine McGahey and the other McGahey, that was the communist trade unionist from Scotland. I found that her role, although she was instructed by a solicitor's firm, Oliphant Solicitors, on behalf of Helen Macdonald, her kind of statement, her approach, and her quote presentation and within quote representation of baby angel Geronimo were far, 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 far short of what they should have been. And I'm saying that because it has nothing to do with the actual science. It is nothing to do with the actual health of baby angel Geronimo. She was more concerned, she should not have been concerned, objectively speaking, and in my view, ethically, morally, she should not have been concerned at all about her position as a licensed law trader, appearing before another licensed law trader, Griffiths, nothing more than another licensed law trader. And my contacts with these licensed law traders over the decades in the United Kingdom, coming to 6 decades, and before I entered the United Kingdom 6 decades ago, my encounters with the British state and its various elements, my encounters and contacts have always been and remain and shall remain forever truth based and against batil, against falsehood. As one man acknowledged in the Whitechapel High Street more than 50 years ago, when he arrived in the United Kingdom, not long before he accidentally met me there in the Whitechapel High Street in a eatery called Wimpy Bar, situated not far from where the Whitechapel Library used to be. And then he volunteered almost tearfully. He was so excited to see me and he was so grateful at that point. He may have changed his demeanor and attitude afterwards because he got settled and didn't need my support. But at that point, he had just arrived in this United Kingdom and he was almost in tears as he told somebody, whoever else was present, either with me or with him, he was unable to find words to express his gratitude to me for what I had done to help him. Now, that was more than 50 years ago. So that means that I had been approached by him while he met me in the village. I was not always in the village, but when I was on breaks from my time at the university or wherever, he met me and he initially approached me with a long, kind of painful account of how his applications, repeated applications, to get a visa or get a permission to enter the United Kingdom had been rejected by the United Kingdom Foreign Office. Now, that would be about 55 years ago, 56, 57 years ago. And in between the meetings that I would have with him, because he was resident normally in the village, and whenever I would visit the village, he would meet me in the market, the bazaar, and there would be a conversation about update a conversation with me about what letters or responses he had received. And what happened was that I had no idea in terms of the number of people that I had been helping in that way, and I had forgotten about him by the time he met me more than 50 years ago in the Whitechapel High Street near the Aldgate East station. So he told me in front of the witness or witnesses that he was forever grateful, eternally grateful to me, and that what I had done for him was beyond description. Now, what had I done? I wasn't practicing as a licensed law trader, but my skills were recognized by people like him. Not that I set up shop and advertised myself as offering anything. And those were, as my paternal grandmother said to me, were identical to the Vedh Shah. They were not anything that I had learned in academic kind of studies. They were combination of my dedication to getting the truth and advocating the truth. And to my knowledge, all the cases that were brought to me by the people, like this one, were successful and have been successful. So, decades on, I have been embarked on this program of contacts with the UK legal facades of the state. And all my contacts have been, if you like, vindicated in terms of my representation and advocacy. So it's nothing to do with anything that can be found in the rulings of high court judges or whatever, like Griffiths or Murray. It's to do with my own original exclusive jurisprudence. And it is this, that the judges are liars, as are the licensed law traders before them. So when I came across Catherine McGahey, let me check the name McGahey, whether that communist McGahey, whether she is connected or related. It was a McGahey called Mick McGahey who died in 1999. He was a Scottish miners' leader and communist. He had a distinctive grumbling voice and described himself as a product of my class and my movement. Now, there is no mention in the wiki entry of his children. Now, his wife is called Catherine Young. Now, this Catherine McGahey may be the daughter of Catherine the Young, who was the wife of Mick McGahey. Let's see if Catherine McGahey is has got a wiki entry herself. It could be that she is related to Mick McGahey. So she became a Queen's Counsel at 17 years after being called to the bar. Usha, her list of cases highlighted on the website of her chambers doesn't mention her appearing before Griffiths. Now, it is quite possible that she is related to Mick McGahey. I shall do the necessary further research and put an update note. Now, the point I was making about her was that she's a typical careerist, probably trying to produce a kind of niche claim for herself to be mildly on the progressive side. But that is the maximum or farthest that she can be expected to go, because licensed law traders like her who, by definition, in terms of the numbers, are in a minority in terms of being themselves white and also involved and prepared to take cases that represent, professionally represent people Asian and African descent and background and legacies, especially immigration cases and so on. So the niche is that she is progressive in that way, but the tilt is only about 2-3%. And what I found in the actual full description of the situation as described by Griffiths was that she failed, Mackay failed. And the reason why McGahey failed to assert the innocence of baby angel Geronimo and the real comprehensive rights of Helen MacDonald and the abuses of power by the state. And Griffith's assertion that the Secretary of State was entitled, in effect, entitled to disregard evidence, disregard signs, and disregard the empirical possibility that any other being, alpaca or human, could remotely be in contact with baby angel Geronimo in the context of an assumption being made that baby angel Geronimo was infected. He wasn't. And whatever Catherine McGahey did was very timid, very superficial, and very, very, very safe for her future. Because members of the judiciary, who are members of the licensed law trades, are operating in darkness. That is to say, they're operating within the British judiciary, they're operating in a secret place, which is governed by too many restrictions against transparency, too many restrictions against the exposure these proceedings must be open to in light of the hundreds of treaty obligations that the United Kingdom remains under, according to the fact that the United Kingdom remains signatory to literally thousands of treaties, declarations, agreements, and so on. This is not an unusual case in that, although it is held apparently openly, the limitations are too illegal, unlawful, and wrongful, contrary to the claims otherwise contained in the treaties, declarations, conventions, agreements. And there is nothing. When it when they say that the appeal cannot do the facts over again, they actually defeat the purpose of the appeal, really. Which means that the British judiciary is a corrupt bureaucracy that is a sham from the word go. If you cannot test, check the veracity of the facts, then the appeal cannot happen really, truthfully. So, this is 30 minutes into this, and the sound recording is only starting at 30 minutes. So, 30 minutes have been left out of the sound recording system. What is happening in the overwhelming majority of high profile cases, such as the case between one of the Barclays and his former wife, whom he owes 100 million pounds. His former wife of 30 years, a woman of Chinese ethnicity, generally speaking, whether she is from China itself or from Hong Kong or from one of the other Southeastern Asian countries, is not clear, but she is obviously of Chinese ethnicity. The fact that she has been awarded 100 million pounds by the High Court is a significant issue. And the fact that this billionaire, the surviving Griffiths of the Barclays, or the Barclays twins, shows that only the most wealthy people can afford a real comprehensive legal suit to assert their rights. Now, the fact that Helen MacDonald is not a wealthy person is not a minor consideration. Because if she had huge sums of money, she could have hired immediately a very powerful team of licensed law traders to immediately file any number of challenges to Griffiths in 2021. That's number one about the money. The second thing is that even if she had the resource, she might have been under the advice of solicitors, the one that the firm that is listed as being involved in the 29th of July 2021 appeal, doesn't come across as being very bright. And you have to have been extremely bright in order to challenge the extremely dark and corrupt other side. Most of the licensed law traders and their businesses, like the solicitor's firm, are run as businesses, primarily, secondarily, and finally as businesses. They're not run to promote, to advance rights. And there is no one, either as a licensed law trading solicitor or as a licensed law trading barrister or as a licensed law trading legal executive who could come anywhere near doing what I have been doing for decades. The simplest statement that I can make about taking on the licensed law traders establishment, whether they're operating within the central government state or independently as advisors on retainers, is that it is a mistake for anyone opposing them to follow their line. So the first thing to do is to call their bluff and tell their lies are nothing but lies. Once you do that, they are stuck because they can't capitalize on or exploit any vulnerability on your part to buy their line. So they have to tell the truth, and they can't tell the truth. So that is where they are stuck. Now, somebody like Catherine McGahey would never risk any damage to her reputation as a kind of reliable, safe hand licensed law trading barrister. And I think this is what she did on this occasion. And anyone else, if another barrister or licensed law trader represented Baby Angel Geronimo previously, would have done the same. So it's not the truth that has been upheld or being put forward. It is the diversion away from the truth and the denial of the truth that has been the main dominant factor, which is why informal rulings, Baby Angel Geronimo has not been given a yes to the application. As I said, because the High Court judges are wrongdoers, prostitutes, they defy the objective requirements to be truthful, to be transparent, to be fair, to be just. That can only happen if they comply with the requirements of the international treaties, declarations, conventions, and agreements. The UK is a member, signed up member to conventions, declarations, charters, agreements, and so on. When David Neuberger, the first incumbent as the President of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, in 2017 when he retired, was reported in the Evening Standard by the corrupt Martin Bentham, who is a spy, that with Brexit, if Brexit came along, if Brexit was implemented, let's say, London, he didn't say United Kingdom, he said London would become the world's legal center for international dispute resolutions. Now, the headline in the Evening Standard piece online dated the 4th of July 2017 reads Brexit could boost London's status as world's legal center. Now, that is the kind of prostitute headline that gives the game away. The country's most senior judge has declared that Brexit could boost London's status as the world's legal center by allowing the courts to respond more swiftly to emerging worldwide issues. What the fuck? For a start, it is very expensive for British people to go to court unless they are part of the government or part of a big organization, corporation. So, to say that the status of London as the world's legal center by allowing the courts to respond more swiftly to emerging worldwide issues, that carries a lot of suppositions. London is not automatically the center of anything to do with the world, and the London courts are not automatically the courts for anyone, even within the United Kingdom. So that was a bullshit promotion by David Neuberger, behaving like a prostitute professionally. The next paragraph by Martin Bentham, the spy, says Lord Neuberger, the president of the Supreme Court, said that once British judges were left to our own common law devices, they would be able to react more quickly and freely to developments in our fast changing world. What the fuck? Because the court, any court, needs to be engaged by somebody else. The court has no automatic role about anything happening in the fast changing or slow moving world at all. Bentham says he also insisted, that is, Neuberger, that Britain's departure from the EU would in no way undermine London's status as the world centre for legal services generally and dispute resolution in particular, and was instead acting as a spur to further improvements. And then there is a contradictory statement in the following paragraph. Lord Neuberger's comments came during a speech in London in which he also warned that British society could start to fragment and lose the rule of law unless action was taken to improve access to justice. Neuberger has not played any part in advocating real access to justice through the court system, nor has he set an example in any of the cases that he has taken part in presiding over in undermining the corruption of the state and allowing access to the judicial system for the ordinary people. And then he goes degenerates because Labour's 1999 Access to Justice Act is not relevant to that line, but it is made relevant by Neuberger and Martin Bentham attacking it. There is no difference between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party when it comes to the bureaucracy of the court system within the United Kingdom, which is prostitutional, completely prostitutional. County courts, magistrate courts, and any other courts in the United Kingdom are presided over by liars, also known as judges. So when Catherine McGahey was instructed, she could possibly not have been instructed about the realities no expression condemnation by her or by the so-called solicitors Helen MacDonald and her human rights and so on. And he said the main important thing that it serious all of them failed failed to understand that the whole legal process that they were referring to with complete unconditional deference was a complete perversion. We're talking more listing how legally the role of the court and how they had already decided to attack baby angel Geronimo regardless of the evidence of his state of health. Now, according to the BBC on the 24th of February 2015, the mayor of an East London borough, who is accused of electoral fraud, was told in the High Court he would not know the truth if it slapped him. Tower Hamlets Mayor Luthuraman has been taken to the election court by local voters who want his 2014 election to be declared void and rerun. Lawyers said Mr. Rahman lied in court and over the years. The mayor said such allegations were not true, as his future is right here in the courtroom. Why would I lie? He asked. Luthuraman has been accused of lying about his involvement in several events leading up to his 2014 election. He was questioned about his involvement in distributing propaganda containing lots of abusive phrases about his predecessor John Biggs. But Luthuraman said he had never seen the leaflet, which also linked John Biggs to the British National Party and the National Front. Francis Hoare, not spelt as a Whore like the prostitute whore, but this whore is pronounced spelled Hoar, who represents the voters bringing the case against the mayor, outlined a £35,000 overpayment to media advisors. One advisor was also and I'm quoting the BBC, not using the word star myself. One advisor was also a star correspondent for local television station Channel S, the court heard, which Election Commissioner Richard Morey, sitting as judge, said was like a political editor at the BBC being paid by the Prime Minister. Luthuraman also came under fire for television adverts in Bangladeshi media that promoted himself and Tower Hamlets, the subject of multiple complaints to Ofcom. The mayor hit back, that is Luthuraman hit back, saying the appointment of a correspondent as an advisor was apolitical and the council has no control over the adverts. That's a lie. Earlier in the day, claimants accused Mr. Rahman of dominating the local paper East and Life, claiming 97% of its scores came from him or members of his cabinet. But Luthuraman said the paper was not a propaganda machine, adding opposition members also featured in the paper. Four voters have mounted a legal challenge under the provisions of the Representation of the People Act. Lawyers for the group have made a series of allegations, including personation in postal voting and at polling stations and ballot paper tampering. The hearing continues. Now, that item was, of course, the beginning of the hearings against Luthuraman before Richard Morey, and that was posted on the 24th of February 2015. Now, Lutfur Rahman had a short period, maybe a few days, when he was entitled on the facts to describe himself as the Labour Party's candidate for election to the post of mayor during September 2010. On the 14th of September 2010, they held a kind of gathering at the Troxy in the Limehouse area in Commercial Road. At that meeting, the main kind of platform presentation was given to Rabina Khan. Now, Rabina Khan, on her records, is a bare-faced, complete bare-faced, shameless mental slave liar. She lied and she lied and she lied and she lied on the assumption that the people that were present at the Troxy on that night, 14th of September 2010, would not know the difference between the community in Tar Hamlets and the bogus image of a community that she was presenting or mispresenting. That gathering was attended by almost 95% of Bangladeshi people, and nobody knew. Well, I most certainly didn't, and I still don't to this day know who paid for the meal. They were all treated to a meal that rally. I didn't eat there, and I told anyone who told me to join the eating that I never did that I don't eat at events where I didn't know who paid for it and who would pay for me. I needed to pay for myself, and I wasn't there paying for myself either. I was there filming the event. So everything that Rabina Khan said as the main presenter, introducer of Lutfur Rahman was a pack of lies. And the other participants included the individual known as being the one that is the fronter of the Operation Black Votes. Although it is Operation Black Votes and this individual is not himself Lee Jasper, the Operation Black Votes is an extension of Lee Jasper. Now, Lee Jasper is the one that was the most notorious member of Ken Livingstone Livingstone's administration, as Livingstone was incumbent as the mayor in the name of London during 2004 and 2008. And Lee Jasper was the one that the London Evening Standard, and some of which were published by the Guardian as well. So this individual who was on the stage and the Troxy on behalf of Operation Black Votes was there in effect, organizationally and politically, as a representative of Lee Jaspa. The other one present on the stage was a criminal racist liar who was at that time, on that date, the 14th of September 2010, was the Lewisham, mayor of Lewisham. Now, that criminal had been one of the staff of our Greater London Council GLC, based at County Hall, London SE1, during the 1980s. And Bullock praised Lutheraman at the Troxy gathering, where there was nobody, apart from myself, there was nobody who knew the difference between anything. And Bullock the liar said that to have Lutheraman as the candidate for the post of mayor at the expense of Tower Hamlets was probably the biggest achievement for the community. And nobody spoke up against the community because there was nobody who would speak up against the liars presenting Lutheraman. And everyone knew that I was totally opposed to the post and to the whole cabal. At one point, I felt that Oliur Rahman came from behind and pushed me from behind. Oliur Rahman did that on purpose. Sometime later, when I presented a question to the full council in Tower Hamlets Council, Oliur Rahman went out of his way to praise me. And I am reading that as Oliur Rahman's way of apologizing to me for doing what he did. More about Oliur Rahman and his statement in praise of me. Another time. So this has been 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I shall come to end this particular edition. Shall continue in due course in other editions.